fighting? What's the game plan at this point? Anyway, we can go into more of that once we get into game. Let's look at the draft here as the bans coming through. Renekton taken off the board and the Orianna. A lot of respect to the solo laners on RNG here as the Aphelios as well is the last ban there. Now RNG banning Mole Zoe, banning this Pantheon from Weiwei, and then finally banning that Kai'Sa first pick.
And they are going to go towards the jungle first pick here. This has been the strongest pick for Weiwei in this split, and it does open up a lot of opportunity for Mole to go towards something like the Lucian and secure a strong lane for themselves there. However, there is the opportunity here on the opposite side for Wei to go towards something like the Nidalee and these kind of things. There's still a lot open for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that locked in on this next rotation. Or opposite, just secure a strong bot side for themselves. Gala's looked really, really good in being this late game carry for RNG, just sitting bot, doing his thing, and then being a big impact in the late game fights.
Yeah, we get Gala on the Xayah once again. This is, I mean, he played it last game. This is now his most played AD carry of the split with 3 games played. And you expect that this is going to continue to be standard for him. Ming has looked fantastic on the Alistar. Again, can roam really heavily, can be a part of these early game skirmish.
So I want to see here V5 actually go towards the Syndra pick on this next rotation, because then you end up putting RNG in this really difficult situation where do we try and take a pick into the mid lane that can deal well against the likes of the Syndra, or do we end up picking up our jungler for Wei and then we end up getting a favorable matchup mid anyway? Okay,
that's one way to do it. We'll just blind pick the Yone instead. Mole is just slamming the gauntlet down and saying, bring it on. What do you got, Crying? What are you bringing to this mid lane?
And I've wanted to see this pick come in for so long, especially with the amount of AP junglers we have. Haven't quite been able to see it brought out. I know Doomby played, I think, in Demacia Championship was kind of the last time I really got a good look at it. But you can see now, you're in a difficult spot as RNG. We just talked about it. Take a mid laner, cool. Now you have to take a jungler or a favorable matchup for that mid lane. RNG opt in towards the jungle, which means as V5, you can ban away some of these Yone Yone counters, or at least matchups that do well into Yone, and have an absolute field day for Mole in this mid lane.
I am incredibly excited for what Mole can bring out. We already talked about Mole being a playmaker in the mid lane, being the kind of guy that wants to win 1v1. Yone is definitely a pick that fits into that playstyle. Over to the bans though, as Galio is removed by RNG. V5 with their first ban gonna go for the Akali, so definitely gonna focus on towards these mid lane matchups, as you said.
Yeah, and I imagine we're going to just continue to see that. Yone does incredibly well just at the moment in the mid lane because he can play so aggressive. He's able to trade super well. The only thing I will say is that you need to make sure you've got vision control for this Yone, because if you're not able to trade aggressively without knowing where the jungler is, you're not able to get the full amount out of this Yone. So I want to see Weiwei starting to move in towards the opponent's side, working with PP God to make sure they can track where Wei is going to be. Otherwise, you run the risk of Wei just tearing through this mid lane and setting up some kills in the mid lane.
It's going to be a Malphite ban coming out from V5 to round out the ban phase here, so they're just looking at Xiaohu's champion pool. They're like, we're not that afraid of your Camille. We're not afraid of your Nara, I guess. We're just going to ban this AP Malphite that we saw you bring out the one time. So, I don't know about that one specifically. But hey, you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea. I know it's kind of strange to... Okay, well, I was going to say because...
All right, whatever.
Okay, so what you want to do as V5 is the thought process is get rid of AP top laners. Gragas is already gone, so then you can't go for some sort of AD matchup in the mid lane like a Jace or an Aurelia that can do reasonably okay against the Yone. However, they go towards the Rumble. So this is Crying going, you know what? You do your thing, Yone. I'm not going to interact with you. I'm going to push the lane and I'm going to go elsewhere. So expect these early plays to be coming from Crying on these roams, more likely towards this top side, which is why we're leaving the counter pick here for Xiaohu on RNG side on the top lane. On V5, I think they'll go towards maybe the Gnar has kind of been the standout one when we look towards the more blind pickable top lanes, but they've also got the opportunity to go for, well, maybe the Camille here, but I don't know if I fully like this. I'd prefer something that could set up Yone in these team fights rather than going towards this 1-3-1, because when we talk about already, you know, V5 struggling to get these Rift Heralds, and if they don't, well, what do they really do? 1-3-1 doesn't give you a huge amount to work with here in these team fights.
Camille can slot into the team fight at least somewhat, so maybe they can make it, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of AD on the side of V5, and Gnar will be the final lock-in here. It's going to be going up to Xiaohu. So Cryan bringing the Rumble to the mid lane up against Yone from Mole. This is going to be definitely an exciting mid lane. I will say, for the side of V5, what did we prescribe for them last time? It was drafting a composition that can fight better in the early game over these Heralds. These guys love to skirmish. This is definitely a squad that wants to be fighting.
Yeah, this is a squad that can do well in a skirmish, but in a team fight, if we end up in a 5v5, I'm not so sure. But for V5, I want to see them making these early plays. And actually, a lot of this for me stems from PP God unlocking himself from that bottom lane, playing towards Mole, trying to see if he can play towards top side, because this is all about the solo lanes for V5. And if they don't get ahead, then you're going to just get overrun by RNG again.
Time to find out which team is going to be able to get the advantage in the early game. I want to reiterate that the early game is everything. Whichever team is ahead at 15 minutes pretty much is going to win the game. They both have 100% win percent when they're ahead at 15 minutes. And bear in mind that last game didn't touch the stats in that regard for V5 because they weren't ahead at 15 minutes. So it doesn't impact that statistic. Definitely about the snowball here and about that first Rift Herald. Looking towards the jungle matchup once again, because Wei was our MVP in game number 1. How are we thinking this early game is going to begin, especially between a Hecarim and a Lilia? We've got a little bit of, what is it, Regicide is it called? I can't remember what the family on family is called.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't.
Yeah, either way.
Regicide is royalty, but anyway.
Yeah. Wei, I think, is going to have his work cut out for him. It's a little bit more difficult for him to have that big impact on the Hecarim, but we'll have to see as we start to get through, because you don't really have like the definitive CC for Wei to kind of play around, like the likes of a Renekton, or even the mid lane, something that can lock someone down like a Syndra. So as Wei, you've got to invest that Ghost to try and wrap around behind someone to set that play up. However, as long as V5 are able to kind of play it a little bit safe and not overextend their lane, they should be able to weather the storm and not give Wei the opportunity to have an impact in these early stages. I actually expect Wei to have way more impact. When you're on this Lilia and you got the Camille in the top lane, you can path from bot in towards this top side level 3. You can even play towards Mole in this mid lane as well, because Mole, when he has it level 3, he can dash forward aggressively, set up that CC for you as well. So I'm expecting Wei to be playing pretty heavily around these solo lanes off of just his first clear.
Okay, well, I've been doing a little bit of research, Dagda. And if Wei kills Wei, it's going to be patricide, because that's killing your father. Generally speaking, it is called familicide, just the idea of killing family members. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Let's take a look at some of these runes, because we are going to see this comet on Cryan from the Rumble. This is kind of your standard laning rune on Rumble when you want to get some extra poking, you want to be able to win these trades early, and most importantly, when you want to be spamming that flame spitter to get out of lane.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here. You can see already getting the shove. I'm looking at Wei, though. He's pathing from his weak side down towards his stronger bot side. So certainly he's already realized, look, I'm not going to be able to do very much in this top lane against this double AD composition. So I'm going to move down towards my bottom side where I'm a little bit safer. And hopefully Gal and Ming can get that push at level 3 to get the scuttle and just allow this Hecarim to farm up until that mid-game spike that RNG have.
Y4 going to be able to shove in this bottom side. This is one of the advantages of the Misfortune as well, is in the early laning phase, like Xayah versus Misfortune, it is all the way in favor of the Misfortune. The love tap passive does so much work to be able to give you strength in lane. And also, importantly, going for that press the attack so that early fights will very much favor the Misfortune, where you can obviously go for the Comet more for the laning phase, but we know this ain't really about the laning phase, as Mole taking some questionable trades here against Cryan, honestly.
Yeah, and this is why the Rumble does so well here. I mean, you're able to trade super effectively against them. It's really hard to shove a Rumble out of lane, which is why we've seen him picked up in the mid lane. That Scrap Shield does a lot to avoid that damage. And again, it works just as well against these AD mid laners. And if you're standing there as Mole whacking away on them, well, you're just in range of those overheat auto attacks as well.
Yeah, Cryan's having a whale of a time against this melee mid laner from Mole. And it's worth remembering that Mole is on something that scales exceptionally well. Yone obviously is essentially a melee crit AD carry. I think with some aggressive positioning, they want the 2v2. They've already got the level 3. PP God flashes away from the root, but Y4 was caught by the tip of it. Hook onto Ming. Doesn't take a tower shot, though. He'll walk away from this one. That was a little dicey for V5. Got a flash and a heal out from that one. Xiaohu now trading on the top side as Audi, winning that one out, but Weiwei, it was all a bait after all. Xiaohu now going to be forced to flash, but it doesn't matter. First blood for Weiwei.
Oh, that's so sad. But bot lane might be answered here for RNG as Wei and Cryin to move down. I've seen this move before.
Cryin wants to roam. He's coming for this bot lane. They're still level 2. And bear in mind, PP God doesn't have the flash available. I think he's going to be okay. Gets the hook onto Wei. Can't pull him with the tower range, though. And it looks like the roam was for naught in that mid lane.
But look, I mean, this is a win for V5. They just talked about how strong their solo laners are and getting these ahead. And I was about to praise Xiaohu. He'd actually done a really good job of managing the wave, stopping it from crashing as much as it could have. But then he overextends, trying to take this aggressive trade, trying to see if he could get out his health bar too low so he couldn't be the one to start off the dive. But unfortunately for him, that means that he ends up dying anyway. So nice job here from Weiwei and Audi to get the early game lead.
Really aggressive from PP God and Y4 as well to kick Wei out of the jungle. Only the small crook goes down, and Wei has to just settle for some Razor Beaks instead. I think Weiwei has been spotted by that ward, so Xiaohu shouldn't die to this flash from Ming, but it's answered by a flash from Y4, so all things considered, flash for flash. Now Xiaohu getting dived. There's a TP as well. Xiaohu hops away, but he's going to be chased by the deer, and Audi jumping under the tower. Mole will be able to bounce back to his shadow. That's going to be a nice, easy kill for V5.
So well played. And look, you can see why they're like, we know you're coming for a spot lane. We know you're going for the cross map. And they managed to back away. Trying to see if they can steal away the crab here. But you are losing out pretty heavily as Y4 in the spot lane. But honestly, you don't really mind. Going into this later game, you're going to have a very strong Camille in the side lane off of just the massive advantage and the favorable matchup she has against Gnar. Plus Mole having picked up that kill as well now helps re-stabilize things in this mid lane. So as MF, you're just this clear bot. Like, all you're doing is clearing waves. Just let the side waves do their work. Or side lanes even, sorry, do their work.
You see Audi trying really hard to aggressively trade on the top side, but look at the CS difference between the top laners right now. It's mirrored on the opposite side of the map, and it shows so clearly how the two teams are playing so far. 20 CS in favor of Audi, 20 CS in favor of Gala. You can see which side of the map is the strong side, but that favors V5. When we talked about the two teams, generally they want to play around this top side. But Wei now has an opportunity maybe to look towards this dragon.
Well, look, this is a game where we definitely need to see RNG playing down towards this bottom side. Because when you look at how you want to force these fights from V5 so they can't just opt in towards split push, it's getting these early dragons. It's starting to ramp up a lot of pressure through these team fight scenarios. And that's why I want to see Wei go towards this dragon, but got to engage bot side.
Yeah, Hex flash onto him, but PP God has the lantern, so all is going to be fine on that one. And good trade here coming out from Audi, using that shield to protect himself from the initial damage from Xiaohu, who's still level 5, by the way. Doesn't have that Mega Gnar available, so can't really force the fight on that one. Has just hit 6 off of this minion wave, but obviously Audi well and truly out of dodge by that point. Trade's continuing in this mid lane, but I will say we're starting to see a little bit of a reason here on the scoreboard as to why RNG usually focus their strategy up towards the top side of the map here. It's to cover the laning weaknesses of Xiaohu as a top laner.
Well, look, this is just an unfavorable matchup. Like, Xiaohu definitely had his weaknesses, but they are steadily starting to shore up. The issue, though, for V5 more so is that you've hit the level 6 for Xiaohu, right? You don't have it on your bottom lane, whereas Gala and Ming should hit it off of probably this wave, if not the next one. So when we're looking at that Rift Herald play, it's fully in favor of RNG just with the level advantages and having access to more of these ultimates.
Damage from Gala underneath the tower onto Y4. He's really struggling here, just trying to clear the minions. I think this Hex Flash is going to go through. I think they're going to dive the bottom lane. Ming gets underneath the tower, but he's been found out. Weiwei will easily clear this kill up. That's a 1-for-1, all things considered, but Y4 still not level 6. Audi now flashing out in the top side. Hextech Ultimatum to dodge the fear, but can he actually survive? Wei's just going to jump underneath the tower, and he can gallop out the other side.
And that's gorgeous from RNG. They were trying to set up for this Rift Herald on the top side, so now they're able to get that kill the second that they see Wei Wei is bot, make the play, and now they can go back to base. They've just picked up a bunch of gold, as we talked about, ultimates galore on RNG, and they can look to move towards this Rift Herald as well.
Really, really great stuff coming out from RNG. The dive on the bottom side doesn't quite work out, but they're able to make a play on the top side to make up for it. Wei Wei is definitely ahead in this game with his 2-0-1 scoreline. Question is, what can he do to get the rest of his team back into this game?
I mean, there is actually an opportunity here to try and sneak away the Rift Herald. You've got PP God who's up mid. You can see that Gala's returned bot, and Wei is on bot lane with Xiaohu in base with no TP. So he actually spots this correctly and is going to try and steal away this Rift Herald. And this is just an unfortunate reset timing from RNG, not actually able to go directly towards that. And it looks like instead they're going to turn it over towards the Dragon and start to rack those up instead. I would have liked to see RNG contest for that Rift Herald. Just again, if you're playing split push, you want to get these towers down nice and early. V5 love these Rift Herald plays as well, so it felt like that was the best place for RNG to actually use the advantages that they picked up across the map.
And since we do have RNG on the bottom side of the map right now, face sealed in the mid lane, knock up onto Cryin, forces him away. PP God almost getting the hook there. That's both summoners down for Cryin. We can see this Herald come down top as Wei Wei already on the minimap, already there next to that tower. Yeah. Should be first tower of the game here for V5.
V5 are playing this early game exceptionally. Like, they have a very clear game plan of we're getting Audi ahead, so they get the kills for him. They're also getting all these turret plates for him as well. This Camille is so far accelerated, and because Xiaohu is so far behind, whether he ends up against Mole, whether he ends up getting Audi in a side lane, he's going to struggle. So right now, V5 have got a very clear game plan about how they can play this mid game.
RNG trying to answer on the bottom side of the map. They're looking for the second tower of the game. They were looking to at least match the amount of plates, but Gala's going to take a hit their way, forced away from the tower. The hook comes through from PP God, going to lock him in place. The slow still comes through. The Blade Caller stops the follow-up engage. Tower finally goes down. That means Wei can start to go ham. Onslaught through everybody. The fears galore. Y4 falls, and it's a double kill for the pony.
Oh no, all V5 had to do was trade. You just trade the turret, you're getting a second one topside, but they end up giving over kills. And again, mistakes from V5 coming back to bite them. Now you've got 3 kills on towards Wei. This Hecarim is huge. And you're probably going to get this tier 2 tower. Well, not quite actually. Looks like they're going to back away, but still, RNG coming out massively off that play.
And the 3 members there from the side of E5 quaking in their boots as Wei gets the 3-man fear that turned everything on its head. And just look at Wei. He's like hitting the tower this entire fight.
Yeah, and you can see how long he waits. He's like, get the tower down. Gala's able to self-peel with the ultimate. We don't need to worry. But the second that goes down, Wei just turns. The amount of damage, the CC setup, it's perfect. And with how far behind the V5 bot lane is, you cannot go for that play. You, under no circumstances are you able to fight that. With the level advantage, the item advantage on 2 out of the 3 members on RNG, you're never going to win. And now, that big lead that we just talked about for V5, how they had a very definitive game plan in the mid game, that's been tossed out the window because we're all back to being even.
So what is next for V5 instead? The original game plan is now out of the window. Where do they go next with this composition, and how do they kind of find their footing in this game?
They need to try and get Audi out of this top lane. So if Audi can maybe shove in this wave really deep, force the back underneath the inhibitor turret where Xiaohu's collecting it, maybe they can look for some sort of 5-man play around mid lane, or maybe they can get a dive down onto this bottom side of the map. But it is very, very difficult because they don't really have anyone who's particularly tanky, right? It's not like you've got the Alistair that RNG have, especially with PP God being behind. He's not going to be able to tank it up. Wei can't. Mole maybe can with just the resets that come through, but it becomes a lot more difficult for you to just easily take these dive scenarios as V5.
Yeah, you can see PP God and Wei Wei just joining up there to clear some vision as Xiaohu, you mentioned how he's going to be stuck underneath his inhib, clearing waves. That is exactly where he is. He's somewhat freezing for a little bit there, but decides he's going to go into the Meganart, shove this one out, grab the next wave, and try and group up with the team. We talked about how this was going to be a matchup between the junglers, and both games so far, it really, really has been. Look at the scoreboard right now. 2-0-1 on one side, 3-0-1 on the other with this Hecarim versus Lilia matchup. Last time around, it was Wei that managed to find the early advantage. This time with the Lilia, maybe Wei can find something in this mid game. Once again, though, gold completely even. Whoever has the lead at 15 minutes statistically wins 100% of their games in this matchup. So in 1 minute and 20 seconds, Doctor, we're going to find out who wins.
We get our answer. Yeah, we get the answer. That's all we need. I don't think it's not that.
Out there by Mo. Nicely done.
Yeah, and Mo's in trouble now. Wei is going to be like, he knows he's done for. This is.
Oh, fate sealed underneath the tower. Wei's actually tanking up tower shots here. Has to back away now. Crank going underneath the tower himself. But he's going to be tanking. The minions didn't reset the damage. He gets out of range. And now Wei locked up and might just get taken down. Xiaohu's chasing for this one. But Audi's arrived on the scene. Ming flash over the wall. PP God trying to tank them up. Flashes himself and will keep himself alive as well. Xiaohu can't get into Meganar. Will be taken down. Audi with the first of the fight. The death sentence is perfect. It keeps Wei alive. And the double for Audi is just too sweet.
Oh god, that was a lot closer than it needed to be on that bottom side for V5, but they managed to get the kill. More gold injected in towards Audi as well with this turret going down. So right now, all the eggs for V5 are in the Camille basket. And if they can try and stop the bleed that's happening elsewhere on the map, then they can actually get this Camille up and rolling and use the long lanes that they're starting to create for themselves. And I mean, look, this is exactly what we wanted to see from V5, right? Finding some way to get Audi out of lane, make these plays underneath the towers that are still standing. However, you still need to be careful because RNG are answering back just as much. And now with Dragon up again, the second one of the game, they're going to start racking these up and can force V5 into these fights if V5 aren't able to snowball this advantage.
Well, Dagda, we've hit the 15-minute mark. V5 currently up in gold. Their statistic is now in jeopardy. V5 need this win to maintain that 100% win rate when ahead at 15. Let's take another look at this fight because Ming kind of just checked into this one.
Yeah, and look, they were trying to make a play down towards Audi. They could see why 4 was in mid. They thought maybe they could burst someone out before that happens. But this is the really cool build that are coming in from a lot of Lilias, is going towards this Zhonya's first, so you can play these fights so aggressively and still have that safety there. And when the CC comes in with the death sentence, they're not able to finish off Wei. It's super, super nice to see. But I want to go back to your point, because there's one statistic I left, one silver bullet I left that I didn't bring up. RNG have a 75% win rate when behind at 15. So now, I know it's not the 100%, but still, we might end up seeing this here. But honestly, I think that this game is still super even. It's very much going to come down to if V5 can make plays happen and stop RNG from finding these team fights at Dragons.
We've got a big engage from Ming here. He's going to be locked up, though. The true damage really working away at his ulti. PP God survives for a second, but goes down now. Wei trying to clean up this fight. Fate Seal brings them all in. The Fear is going to buy a little bit of time, but Xiaohu's about to go down. Equalizer isn't doing enough, and now suddenly 3 versus 1 as Cran is on the wrong side of the play, and out of nowhere, V5 get themselves 5.
RNG end up fighting 4 versus 5, and V5 say, thank you very much, we'll take all this extra gold. Now, they can move in towards this mid lane, they can shove this in, they can go over towards Rift Herald. Like, they've got so many opportunities now to take down these big objectives that can start to unlock this game for them. This here could be a big turning point for V5.
Huge lead now in that. Well, they've got a 2,000 gold lead now for themselves as Ming contesting in this mid lane. But PP got a V and Y4 maybe can finish this one off with the demolish damage. He's not going to go for the last auto attack. The tower survives at least for now. You see Wei moving up towards the top side of the map. I can't tell if he's on Scuttle Crab or if he's actually on that Herald itself, but I think it's just the Scuttle Crab for now. Because Ming's actually going to get caught up here. And Audi just shreds him. This Camille is monumentally massive at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, look at the item comparison. You've only just finished Strikebreaker as Xiaohu. You've already got the Divine Sunder. And now you're already most of the way towards that Ravenous Hydra as well here. Like, Audi's massive. And with that pick, they're able to go over towards the Rift Herald uncontested. And we're starting to see now this V5 game plan come into action. And when these outer turrets go down, it becomes so much easier to opt into this 1-3-1 because you can get the deep vision. You can give that freedom to your solo laners to actually push forward.
Interesting to see Y4 going for a Kraken Slayer this game. This is not the standard Misfortune build, usually it's going to be the Gale Force or, like, you know, the Eclipse or something along those lines, if you really are trolling. That was beautiful from Audi, though. Hextech Ultimatum as the headbutt comes in.
Yeah, and absolutely beautiful. The big issue here was, look at where Cryin is. Like, the entire time this fight is going on, you've had the TP come in from Mole. He gets this lane faster. Cryin is trying to walk his way down. So what V5 have already dealt with everyone on RNG by the time Cryin gets there. The Equalizer does some damage, but you just don't have it for the team fight, which is where they really wanted it. Now, though, V5, you can see them grouping up in this mid lane as 3 members. They're looking to get down this last outer structure, and already Mole and Audi are out in these side lanes. They're slowly starting to get this deep vision in onto the RNG side. So with this next dragon coming up, RNG needs to clear out that vision on bot side and get control of this river.
So 1 minute on that dragon, and you know, V5, they would love to not have to use the Herald on the tier 1 in the mid lane. It might end up being the call just for the sake of getting priority for this Drake. In they go. Audi is not going to wait around. Onto Ming he goes. He's got the true damage to finish off the cow, but Crown with a good equalizer forces the Zhonya's out of Wei. Doesn't have flash, and he's taken down. That's a massive shutdown into the pocket of Wei. Blue buff will be taken, though, for V5, who posture around this mid lane. They're going to get a second charge here. Don't know whether they can actually pressure this tower for themselves, but maybe they go for a tower dive instead. Fate Seal, bullet time over the top, but it's just out of range. Now maybe the re-engage from RNG. Wei is off towards the backside, but Audi's like, I don't think so, buddy. You may have 4 legs, but I got 2 and they're made of sword. In they go straight onto Wei. Denies the jump over the wall. I don't know if that was denied or if it wasn't in range, but crucial as Wei goes down. Infernal Drake is just spawning. Y4 forced to flash. Gala trying to close the gap here, trying to finish off some kills. Mole gets onto the blast cone, jumps out to safety. No kills for the side of RNG here, but maybe a Drake.
I don't know if they can set up the Drake, though. They have no jungler, and Wei is back out on the map. Looks like, though, he won't be able to get there in time, so RNG still secure the dragon, but a lot of kills going over in favor of V5. And when we're looking at, you know, getting these solo laners up and running, gold is way more valuable for V5. They want to be making sure that they're getting these big advantages. They already have that top tier 2 down. The mid lane tier 2 is really struggling. However, I'm kind of digging RNG right now. Having 3 dragons, you can easily force V5 to fight, and now you're on a timer because you got to deal with Baron and the dragon as V5.
No, Wei gets caught out by the equalizer here, but actually maybe this has gone wrong for the side of RNG. Gala is stuck here, doesn't have a way out of the fight. Audi can easily finish that kill off. Headbutt under the tower is nice from Ming, and maybe is going to find a return kill, but Y4 surviving for now. The tower shot doesn't finish him. He's walking away with the lantern shield. Wei now ticking down, but Audi gets the damage shield at the last possible second. Somehow lives through the fight, and V5 get everything.
I was saying how intelligent RNG were, how they were so smart with how they engaged, understanding their comp strengths. They've just been running it. They've just been walking into V5 and getting picked for the last 10 minutes straight. Just take a 5v5 fight. Not 4v5, not 1v5, 5v5. Please, for the love of God, RNG.
Yeah, and Audi, he's got his MMA gloves on right now because he is here to brawl. He is loving this game right now. He's so fed on the Camille. And another hook from PP God. That's going to be the Baron for V5. And if they needed something to snowball off the back of, that is it. That is a huge gold lead now for them.
So when I was yelling about 1v5, I also meant that 1v4, 1v3 was also included in that statement. So there's no need, RNG, to try and contest the Baron as a solo person. That's not going to work out. But again, I mean, Ming going in here, all they need to do is just wait for the rest of RNG. Go in as a 5-man unit. That's where you're strong. But right now, you don't have Xiaohu, you don't have Wei, and RNG are very much capable of just bursting through that or through what is the little front line that Ming offers right now.
Yeah, this was beautiful from Mole and Audi as well. The strength in these solo lanes. And, you know, people weren't sure about the fact that they were playing Audi over Lanxing, but I guess Lanxing is this kind of weak side top laner. Maybe this is the way forward. Maybe Audi can be a carry top laner on the side of V5 and breathe a different style into this top side. So they can play through not just the Herald, but the top lane and the mid lane.
Yeah, and I mean, when we saw Audi on EDG, he was really strong on things like those weak side top laners, like the Mordekaiser and that, but certainly he was able to bring out these really strong carry performances. So I like that you're getting both as... Okay.
Oh, hang on. Audi has seen an enemy and immediately has pressed all of his buttons in that direction. He might have gone a little too deep on this one, but the bullet time could answer. As PP God gets the play, Ming will go down and Wei wants to gallop off into the sunset. He wants it to be like an old Western movie, but it just ain't. This is modern action.
And it's all over. RNG, you've waited too long. You've given too much gold to V5. They are fully in control of this game, and your team fight, it just doesn't cut it anymore.
Equalizer onto the wave. Actually, it's not onto the wave.
It doesn't hit the
missed
wave.
everything. It's a disastrous
Oh,
equalizer.
God. Oh, no.
That's going to be inhib. I think V5 have to back away, though. People are respawning. It would be disrespectful to try and get more.
Yeah, it really would. But look, V5, they're firmly in the driver's seat. You can see there, even in... They didn't have crying for the fight, yeah, but this team fight is not going the way of RNG anymore. This Dragon now, in a minute, although it could have been a win condition for V5, the last 3 plays where they've just fed gold in towards V5 means you're getting towards the third item on a lot of their carries, whereas when you look at the opposite side, you're still waiting on those second items to really come through. This is just V5 now running away with this game.
I just want to point out that that metaphor is used so often in League of Legends of who's in the driver's seat. The idea of people swapping between driver's seat and passenger seats, it's so difficult. It's like impossible to climb between the seats in a car. The implication that that's as easy as it is in League of Legends. But let's talk about this Drake Dagda. It's up in 40 seconds. What have RNG got left in the tank, if anything, to fight and try and get this Infernal Soul?
I don't think you fight for the soul here. I mean, what you do instead is you try and get some of this gold back in your pocket. I would prefer to see RNG clearing that top wave and trying to get this mid tower.
All right, so we're favoring V5 in the all-in right now, and they're clearly looking for it. Flash forward from PP God, but the Gale Force dodges it. RNG grouping up. Remember, Ming can really brute force a fight if V5 stack up. Xiaohu takes a massive chunk on the Q. I think that was maybe a Kraken Slayer Q that came out. I'm not entirely sure on the interaction. In they go onto Y4, but the Lantern keeps him safe. In Mole goes, and the bullet time across the squad as well, but health bars still surviving for now. Audi's kind of left alone, but Y4 started to shred these health bars. The Misfortune has been left unchecked and is deleting everybody. Featherstorm, everything Gala can do is here, but it's not enough. And V5, they take themselves the fight and maybe the game.
This is it. This is the game. V5, they played out this early game beautifully. It looked a little bit dicey when we saw like this 10-minute dive bot for RNG starting to swing the game in their favor, but Wei, Audi, and Mole have been on point throughout this and have been able to find the victory.
Beautiful stuff from V5, and we get ourselves a 3-game series. We get to see these 2 golden squads going the distance. And V5 showing us why we need to be hyped about this squad, showing us why this isn't just a middle of the table team. This is a team contesting